Here's the question that nobody has a clean answer for. Why is it that Cristiano Ronaldo at the World Cup never quite looks like that Cristiano Ronaldo? Not the one who wins Champions Leagues. Not the one who scores in finals. The one who somehow, every 4 years, arrives at the biggest tournament in the world and leaves us with the same uncomfortable feeling. 5 World Cups. 20 years. And he has never scored a single goal in a knockout game. Not one. In this video, we're going through every single World Cup he played, Copa by Copa, and looking honestly at how he performed in each one. If this is your kind of content, subscribe and come along for the ride. Let's go. World Cup 2006. 6 games, 1 goal, 0 assists. Portugal finished in 4th place. Right, 2006. And I want to start with one detail that I think completely reframes how you read this tournament. Ronaldo didn't wear the No. 7 shirt. He wore 17 because Luis Figo, the captain, the legend, still had the 7. Ronaldo was the future, but the future hadn't arrived yet. He was 21 years old. Started the opener against Angola quietly. Got booked. Came off before the hour. Not the entrance you'd write. Against Iran, though. 80th minute, Portugal need a goal. He steps up and buries the penalty. Coolly. Became the youngest Portuguese player to score at a World Cup. 21 years and 132 days. And then the England game. The quarterfinal. Ronaldo did what any competitive footballer does. He appealed to the referee. The wink was stupid fine. But the reaction in England was completely out of proportion. And we all knew it deep down. What I remember more, actually, is that Portugal won on penalties, and Ronaldo scored the decisive kick without even flinching. 4th place, 1 goal, 21 years old. Wearing the 17 shirt on the squad, has still had Figo, Deco, and Paletta ahead of him in the pecking order. Honestly, this was a better Copa than people give him credit for. 2010 to South Africa, 4 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. Portugal was eliminated in the round of 16. 4 years later, everything had changed. Ronaldo arrived in South Africa as the best player in the world. Ballon d'Or, world record transferred to Real Madrid. And the weight of that, you could feel it watching him. Here's what I find genuinely strange about this tournament, and I remember feeling it at the time. He was named man of the match in all 3 group games. All 3. Against Ivory Coast, against North Korea, against Brazil. Officially the best player on the pitch, 3 times in a row. And he scored once and assisted once across the whole Copa. I remember watching those games and thinking something is off here. Not that he was bad. He wasn't. But there was a tightness to him. Like someone who's been told so many times that this is their moment that they've stopped playing football and started performing it. The North Korea game was the outlier. Portugal won 7-0. Ronaldo scored a sliding finish, set one up, looked like himself. But against Brazil and Ivory Coast, Portugal looked nervous. And Ronaldo looked like a man trying to carry something too heavy in the wrong way. Spain in the round of 16. David Villa. 1 goal, done. 3 men of the match awards. 1 knockout game. A paradox that, honestly, I don't think anyone has fully explained. 2014 to Brazil 3 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. Portugal had a terrible campaign. The Portuguese were eliminated in the group stage. Okay, before anything else, the knee. Ronaldo came to Brazil injured. Properly. The training footage before the tournament was alarming, and everyone could see it. He played anyway, because it was a World Cup, because Portugal needed him, because that's just who he is. Now I have family in Brazil, and I was there for parts of that summer. The atmosphere, the heat, the whole thing. And even being there, even with everything going on around me, I remember those Portugal games vividly. Not for good reasons. Germany. First game. 4-0. Papi off in the first half. And Ronaldo, best player in the world at the time, couldn't change a single thing. That's not a Ronaldo failure. That's an afternoon where everything collapsed simultaneously, and there was no way back. Against the USA, Ronaldo whipped in a cross in the 95th minute and Varela headed it home. 2-2. Portugal were alive. Against Ghana, he scored the winner. Portugal won 2-1 and went out on goal difference anyway. He played 3 World Cup games on a damaged knee. In Brazil. In that heat. And still scored, still assisted, still gave everything. I can't rank this one harshly because of the numbers alone. The squad wasn't good enough, the injury was real, and the circumstances were genuinely brutal. But group stage is group stage. That's just the reality of it. Before we get into the next World Cup, we need to talk about what happened in between. Because 2 years before this World Cup, Ronaldo did something at a major tournament that often gets lost in the broader conversation about his international legacy. Euro 2016, a team that drew all 3 group games and nearly went out in the group stage. Not exactly a side built to win a European championship. And yet, they did. Beating France in the final, in Paris, in front of their own crowd. Ronaldo finished that tournament with 3 goals and 3 assists and carried Portugal through moments where nobody else could. He got injured in the final, came off early, and spent the rest of the game on the touchline coaching his teammates. Genuinely. Screaming instructions, pointing, demanding. It was one of the strangest and most revealing images of his entire career. That trophy meant everything to him, and Portugal wouldn't have been anywhere near it without him. So coming into Russia 2018, the question wasn't whether he could win with Portugal. He'd already done it. The question was whether he could do it at a World Cup. 2018 Russia 4. Games 4 goals 0 assists. Portugal was eliminated in the round of 16. Right. This one. I need a moment for this one. I watched the Spain game in a pub in London. And I remember, when Ronaldo scored the free kick in the 88th minute to make it 3-3, the whole place just stopped. Even the people who couldn't stand him. There was this shared recognition that we were watching something we wouldn't see again. Against Spain, in a World Cup group game. Hat trick. Let me just walk through it properly, because it deserves it. Minute 4 penalty 1-0. Before halftime 2-1. Spain come back. Spain go ahead. 3-2. 88 minutes on the clock. Ronaldo stands over a free kick just outside the box and curls it into the top corner. I'm not going to pretend I wasn't impressed. I'm Arsenal. I spent years watching him score against us. And even I had to admit, that was one of the great World Cup moments of my lifetime. Against Morocco, a header. Fine. Against Iran, a scrappy penalty, 1-1. A result that felt like a warning you didn't want to read too carefully. Round of 16, and Ronaldo just disappeared. Not a shot. Not a dribble that went anywhere. Not a single moment where you felt like he could change the game. Portugal lost 2-0. And honestly, if you blinked you'd have missed that he was even on the pitch. Against Uruguay. A team he should have been tearing apart. And just like that, 4 goals, a hat trick for the ages. And still, another Copa ended without a single knockout goal. 2022. Qatar 5 games, 1 goal, 0 assists. Portugal reached the quarterfinals. And then Qatar, which is still a lot to process, honestly. He arrived mid-chaos. The Manchester United fallout had been everywhere for weeks. His place in the Portugal starting 11 was openly being questioned in a way that even 2 years earlier would have seemed absurd. And you could sense the tension even before a ball was kicked. Against Ghana, first game, he scored from the spot. And in that moment, whatever you think about everything else, he made history. First player ever to score at 5 different World Cups. A record that will stand for a very long time. But the tournament kept moving, and Ronaldo kept fading into it. Quieter each game. Less central, less him. And then Fernando Santos made the call that nobody saw coming. Ronaldo on the bench against Switzerland. Goncalo Ramos starting instead. A 21-year-old with almost no senior Portugal experience. Ramos scored a hat-trick. Portugal won 6-1. I don't know how you process that if you're Ronaldo. Your manager drops you for a player half your age. The player scores 3 goals. The crowd loves it. And now there's no clean answer anymore, because the results don't lie. In the quarterfinal against Morocco, he came on in the second half. Portugal were losing. He had a chance. Bunu saved it. The whistle blew, and he walked off in tears. I've seen a lot of football. And bad image. One of the greatest players who ever lived, crying, leaving his last World Cup as a substitute. Hit differently to most things I've watched. I'm not going to wrap it in analysis. It was just a very human moment at the end of something very large. Here's my honest ranking of Ronaldo's World Cup performances, worst to best. 5th place, Brazil 2014. Injured throughout, undermanned, group stage exit. The circumstances were as bad as they get, but the result is the result. 4th, Qatar 2022. A historic moment in Game 1, and then substitute. Tears at the end. Whatever the politics of it, on a football level, that Copa ended too soon and in the wrong way. 3rd, South Africa 2010. 3 Men of the Match awards. 1 knockout game, out in the round of 16. The most frustrating Copa because the talent was absolutely there, and somehow it still didn't translate. 2nd, Russia 2018. 4 goals. A hat trick against Spain that I will genuinely never forget. His best numbers at any World Cup. Only the total disappearance against Uruguay, and that record still standing, keeps it off the top. And first, Germany 2006. 1 goal. 4th place. A Nober 17 shirt, 21 years old. And Portugal in the semifinals of a World Cup. Given his age, his role, and the squad around him, that's still the best Copa he ever had. Do you agree with my ranking? Or do you see it completely differently? Tell me in the comments. What's your opinion on Ronaldo's World Cup performances? Across 20 years, Cristiano Ronaldo has never scored in a knockout stage game. Not once. The man who scored in Champions League finals, who delivered in title deciders, who built his entire reputation on performing when the stakes are highest. At World Cups, the moment the knockout rounds arrive, the goals stop. Look, I'll say it clearly, because I think it needs to be said. In almost every single one of these tournaments, Portugal's squad was nowhere near the level Ronaldo was used to at club level. At Manchester United, Real Madrid, Juventus, he had world-class players around him in every position. At the World Cup, he was carrying a squad that in most editions wouldn't have started for any of those clubs. The one real exception was 2006, and look what happened. Figo, Deco, Paletta, Maniche, a genuinely elite squad, and Portugal went all the way to the semifinals. That team proved what Portugal could do when the pieces were actually there. But after that, Ronaldo spent edition after edition, dragging a group of players that simply worked at his level. Football is collective. You cannot put every single failure on one man when the team around him simply wasn't good enough. That's not an excuse. It's just the honest truth. And I think it's a massive part of why he never quite looked like himself when it mattered most. But here's what makes 2026 genuinely interesting. Portugal are going in with arguably one of the best generations they've ever had. Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, Rafael Leao, Nuno Mendes, João Nunes, Cancelo, Ruben Dias. Quality at almost every single position. This isn't a one-man team anymore. And Ronaldo, at 41, closing in on 1,000 professional goals, might finally have the squad around him that he never really had before. Maybe this is the one. The World Cup in 2026 is where the story gets its ending. I'm not saying it will happen, but for the first time in a long time, I don't think it's crazy to believe it could. And if you enjoyed this, go watch 7 greatest World Cup teams that should have won. It's already on the channel. And if this kind of content is your thing, you're going to love that one